activism begins with ACT. The Russ Belville Show features the stories of hardworking grassroots activists working for an end to prohibition in today's activist agenda.
Welcome back, everybody. 45 after. And, when it comes to the activist agenda, I'm originally born and raised here in the state of Idaho, the Gem State, one of the most conservative states in the union, and on my top 3 of worst states to be a pot smoker. That would be Florida, Oklahoma, and Idaho. And joining us here, an activist who has few peers at her level, Lindsey Rinehart, is joining us from Compassionate Idaho and letting us do a show in your home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad to have you. Just glad to have you on the show because we were so proud and excited to see you and Cheryl and Simi on The View in New York talking to Baba Wawa. What was that like?
It was really fun. Barbara is a lot less scary in person.
Yeah. I didn't know that she was scary in the first place, but it's a lot less scary in person.
I had seen that she was anti-cannabis. And
I get okay.
I was kind of scared of her, but instead she was really, really nice.
Well, what did you think when she said, one of the first things that Barbara Walters said on that show was, well, you don't look like people who would use cannabis or marijuana, I think she said.
I muttered, thank you, kind of confused. But at the same time, I wanted to tell her, well, we don't all look the same.
Yeah, that's true. We do not all look like Cheech and Chong, Harold and Kumar, any of that. So you went to New York City. Was it your first time in New York?
It was.
Or did you get to do anything, or were you just too busy?
Well, we flew in the night before the show. We were able to enjoy some drinks at the bar and prep for the show, and then go to the show, and then fly home.
Oh, okay.
So it was different.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I went, but I wish I could have seen more.
Yeah. How about the whole experience of being on a big time network TV show? I mean, they got makeup and all that stuff going on.
It was a bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
I'll admit I puked that morning.
Oh, my.
But it was okay. Once that was out, I was a lot better. And then it was just really fun. I mean, they whisk you in, and I'd never been in hair and makeup before, and I don't usually wear much makeup at all.
Right.
So they're like, oh, well, you were supposed to do your own makeup. And I said, I did. And they said, you're not wearing any. And I said, that's kind of the point of makeup. So then they...
Not in New York City, dear.
No. So, but it was fun. It was fun to do that. But we got to hang out with Whoopi Goldberg for most of the time we were there.
Oh, really?
Awesome.
Yeah. Did she have anything to say about... I mean, I know she's got a past with marijuana and maybe even a present.
She does have both. And she's not afraid to say it. And she was amazing. When she first saw that we were there, she popped in and she's like, oh, I'm so glad you gals are here. And she's like, we didn't know that there were going to be medical users here. We thought that it was just rec users. She's all, you tell them the truth, honey. You go out there and you tell them what it's like. I mean, she was just supportive from the minute. And then we all hug her, and it's like hugging this amazing energy ball. I mean, her energy is amazing.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, I'll be right back. And we're like, no, don't go, And she's like, I really will be right back. And she came back. She hung out the whole time.
Wow.
It was really neat.
Now, but she wasn't on the segment, though, was she?
No.
Oh, that was weird.
It was weird.
Do you think maybe, that was a purposeful decision or something? Or
I don't know. I mean, we kind of have to be made with purpose, I would think, of some sort. Maybe it would be too much.
Too obvious to have Whoopi in for the pot segment, maybe?
Maybe. But she was really awesome about it. She's got glaucoma, so...
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah, she does. And she's able to live in a medical state, so it's a little bit easier than not in a medical state for her. But yeah, she's got glaucoma, and she was very happy that there was a patient there, patients to tell what it's like. Yeah,
and I thought the segment went really, really well. I had some quibbles with, trying to portray pot smoking as being this terrible thing. Well, I mean, we understand vaporizing is a healthier thing, and maybe patients need vaporizing more. But I think all in all, I mean, that's inside baseball. That's like us being really close to the issue and knowing what's going on. From the mainstream point of view, average soccer mom watching this thing, what do you think she took away from it?
I hope the average soccer mom took away from it, at least on my part, for what I had to say, that, cannabis isn't bad for everything, because there's so many people that aren't educated in it at all.
Yeah.
Just to even have the three of us on there, one talking about a vaporizer, and Simi with her car accident, and Cheryl's cancer, and my MS, maybe opened up some eyes that, hey, this is a really real issue in our country, and we're finally making it onto daytime talk.
Yeah, this is great stuff, and I know more stuff's coming out. We'll keep everyone apprised on that. But Lindsey, let's talk about your story. Last I was out here in Idaho, we were getting up on the steps of the Capitol to make some noise against some people's recommendation, even. But I think the noise worked. And what can you update us on what's happened since the press conference and the kids being taken, all that stuff? Give people the rundown.
To be completely honest, Russ, that was so you helping me just with even the idea. It really helped keep pressure on Idaho. Most people hide their heads in shame and feel shamed and are shamed by their communities. By taking it public, I mean, literally crying from the Capitol steps that we didn't do anything to our children. We didn't hurt them. They were fine. It put a lot of pressure. It put a lot of pressure on the cops. It put pressure on the prosecutors. It put pressure everywhere to, probably be a little bit more careful than they normally would be because the whole world is watching, and they are. I mean, from the minute we went on your show then to the release, we hit Russia, the UK, Germany, CNN's online desk. It went everywhere, and the local outrage behind it, even from some of the most conservative people that you would not expect to be on your side of things, sometimes are like, that's messed up. That's a huge government overreach. And in Idaho, government overreach isn't something that people really like. Right.
Yeah, just as background on that, folks, you may have heard how Idaho, the Senate, went and passed a resolution almost unanimously to say, no how, no way, never ever will we ever legalize wacky tobacco for any damn reason, ever. Like, but at the same time,
it was their temper tantrum.
Yeah, it was their little temper tantrum. But at the same time, there was another bill that was to call on the federal government to go enforce the Controlled Substances Act in Washington and Colorado.
Right.
And Idahoans said no. The Senate said, no, wait a minute. That's states' rights, man. We don't want to trot on Washington and Colorado.
Right. Well, the senator that brought it up was Senator Winder, and he'll bring up anything that you really don't want to see in legislature to begin with. And finally, I mean, it passed through the Senate. Yeah. And then it got to the House, and finally one Republican was like, my constituents, they didn't put me here to vote like this. He's like, we wouldn't want Washington to tell the feds to come into our state to control something. He's like, we would be really upset. Yeah. We cannot talk like that. So there was one voice of reason in this room of, if we're going to stick to our party lines, and Idaho is really, really Republican, and Republican is states' rights, then we can't tell the federal government to do its job it's already doing quite freaking well, and to go into another state and do that, because we wouldn't want it done to us. Right. And finally, that talked some very little sense into these people to get them to think, about their party line platform. Yeah. I think that's the only thing that saved it, though. Well,
and I think that's why, when people say, I have this contest I have going amongst all the states, when they say, our state will be, Oklahoma, we'll be the last to legalize. We'll be the last one. Everybody like this contest to be the last or something. And I don't think Idaho will be the last for those reasons that you mentioned, that there's a strong libertarian streak. There's a strong mind your own business, leave me alone, states' rights kind of thing, that if Idahoans can get the education to understand the medical aspect of it and then apply their mind your own business attitude to it, you can get this passed.
I completely agree. And the libertarian streak in Idaho is strong, and it has been beneficial. There is a very strong mind your own business streak that we love in Idaho. That's part of Idaho. That's part of why I don't want to move from Idaho is, the people care, but they also don't care enough to be peeking in your windows or, what goes on behind your closed door in your house in Idaho is typically what is your own business. So this, to a lot of people, was just sickening. And then they find out, that I was a cannabis patient for MS. It's not just some little thing. It was for MS, and people just thought it was really wrong. But to be the last state, I've heard a couple of people say that, and I just kind of chuckle. Because I don't think we'll be the last. I don't think we'll even be near the last. I think it'll be a lot sooner than most people care to realize.
And it's going to be harder and harder for Idaho to withstand when you've got two legal states near it and medical marijuana states surrounding it. It's only a matter of time, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they can't lock down the borders. They've tried. And they can't keep it from growing. Last summer, they found 42,900 plants in one grow in one of the most conservative counties in the state, which was hilarious to me.
Yeah.
So clear. And it looked like a compassion grow. There was no booby traps, no video cameras, no armed guards. Each plant had its own sprinkler, and they were all hybrids. So everybody that, thinks it's like that's a compassion grow, not a cartel grow. Of course, we were all told it was a cartel grow.
Of course.
But yeah, we're not going to be one of the last states. We're probably going to be a lot sooner. We need to get it done this time. Well, they changed the petitioning laws, so this time now.
Let's talk about that, the political aspect in the future. Well, before I get to the future, let's talk about where you're at as far as the legal system. You got your kids back. Your lovely son is running around here having a lot of fun.
He is, yeah.
Eating some chips. and Josh is here, and, family's here. But, I mean, are you in a legal limbo right now? Is there a possibility of still getting some, criminal charges or anything?
In Idaho, there's always a possibility of criminal charges. It's, come on vacation, leave on probation, sort of place. But, we've got the kids back. The CPS charges for criminal were dropped quickly after the kids were returned. I mean, quickly is such a messed up word for this situation. Sure. It was 17 days, and it felt like hell, and it was a really long time. Yeah. So these ladies and, their couples or whoever that have their kids missing for 6 months, a year, 18 months, adopted out permanently, it's so hard. I almost have some weird survivor's guilt of, I got my kids back, but these people are just like me and they don't get theirs back. Mm-hmm. So with CPS, the biggest problem that we have with CPS right now is they want to put us on a registry saying we abused or neglected our children because I had my medicine in the house to treat my illness. My kids aren't abused or neglected. Clearly, you can see that. He's eating chips right in front of you. Yep. So, and, we've talked about it. We've gone over it. We've appealed it once because they want to put us on a 10-year list saying that. And Josh, I mean, he's been taking care of me for 6 years. I mean, he's been taking care of me for 8.5, but I've had MS for 6. And that we know of. I mean, it goes back further than that. But every job that he'd be qualified to do, if you're on a registry saying you abuse or neglect somebody, right, and that's on a federal background check, you're screwed. Right. And I want to go be able to treat my MS so I can go back into the working pool. Mm-hmm. And I can't see myself working anywhere but with vulnerable population. So to have that allegation made when our kids are happy, healthy, loved, I mean, loved so much, it's sick. It is sick. And it's an extrajudicial tool that they use to get around, well, we can't bust you for this or that, but hey, we can use the leverage of your children. We can use CPS, where the regular rules of discovery and trial and all that don't really exist, do they? They don't. And they still haven't pressed criminal charges, and I pray to God they don't. Yeah. But we can't get anything out of discovery for a criminal case unless they file criminal charges. So I guess that's the one discovery you don't ever want to see. Yeah. But they did give us discovery with the kids case. Yeah. And there's stuff in there that we're really hoping on a second appeal now that we'll be able to not be on the registry. But I'm scared. I'm scared of the Boise Police Department. I don't know if they're going to think that I'm doing something when I'm not and decide that they should just come on in. I mean, I'm scared. I'm scared here. And you shouldn't be scared. We're going to talk more about this in hour 2. We got to wrap up here for hour 1. In the next hour, we'll talk about the future for Idaho, for marijuana legalization, for medical marijuana, what you guys might have planned, what we can do to change this. And folks, if you want to help Lindsey Rinehart and the Idaho 3, I've got a new Rad Russ link for it. You can go to rad-r.us/ID3donate. Number 3, ID3 donate. But that's all the time I got. Thanks to Brian the Red back in Portland, Oregon for holding down the studio. I'm Radical Russ out here in Boise, Idaho. Talk to you next hour, and until next time, take care of each other, tokers.